innocence of God, perfection of divine creation, affirming in this moment that every element of life is in the oneness of creation, and in this divine recognition, the form that has been given to denote its separation can be not only become transparent, but can be forgiven. It isn't the form that is being forgiven. It is the mind that took the form and made it an identity of separation. When all the forms of seeming differences are returned to God, even the form itself, even though temporary, can become a vehicle of love. All the forms become the innocence of beauty and light, and are no longer used by the mind of evaluation and giving worth that seems to be different. Imagine the universe where all life is perfect equality. There is not one form that has more value than another. And everything that appears to be in form can shift to other forms and play in those forms and become those forms for a few moments. Everything moving, creating, responding to love, as love, and in love. The universe of love is beyond the mind that made separation. But it is not beyond the Christ mind, the mind of God, that you are being called to reunite with, to open your awareness to this divine mind of all pure knowledge. In this moment, as in every moment, you have a choice. You have an exquisite choice to choose with the heart and to surrender the mind from everything that you thought you knew, surrendering the mind back to God and letting that divine knowledge become your companion until you melt into the awareness of eternal life. The call is constantly open your heart. Open your heart. Let your heart express God's love, the one love. Consciously choosing to let the heart come forward. Wanting the heart to radiate the truth of love. The choice in every moment is a choice between living in a separate, tiny little world that you've made up of your own thoughts, your own interpretations and experiences, your own assessments. That's the world of the past. Or to choose to express universal love, to radiate, and to be the vehicle of offering love. To offer love without conditions. Resting deeply in the awareness that there's nothing missing within you. There's nothing to get from the outside. There's nothing lacking within. It's just been asleep, dormant, hibernating, hiding. The hiding has been purposeful in the belief that you need protection. Everybody that has incarnated has bought that lie that there was a great protection needed, that you had to protect your identity, your value, and most of all, the body had to protect it from the belief of attack from the outside. And in the journey of love, to discover that there was nothing outside to be protected from, but that the mind's ideas of difficulty and separation, and the belief of being unworthy of love, was where all the pain and the suffering was really coming from. So here in this moment of perfect love is to reaffirm in the heart the choosing, to choose peace, to choose an undefended heart. Some beloveds may not be aware of what it is to have a defended heart because they haven't yet even been aware that the heart could be defended or undefended. that everything just seemed normal. That tension was normal, that worry was normal, that making plans was normal, that defending value of yourself was normal. How quick the mind will go to defense, to defend your worth. But moment by moment is the new choice. That out of the habits of the past, you refuse. You refuse to defend. You refuse to have to prove your worth. You refuse to judge yourself or others. You refuse to play the game anymore of worry and concern. All of the worry and the concern comes from the belief that you need defense. And the deep, deep belief that you need to feel guilty about who you are, what you did, all the judgments that you've carried, all of the private thoughts of hatred, all of the private thoughts of judgments, all of the belief in enemies. And every beloved carries these secret thoughts, these private thoughts, lifetime after lifetime. And yet, the divine light of the universe, the divine light that is God, that is all creation, offers the simple solution of forgiveness. That each beloved forgive themselves for the false life that's been made in the belief of separation. That all the ideas that you've had about yourself and others, in every way that you could even possibly conjure them up, has been just an illusion of separation. Never true, never real, never authentic. Love is constantly calling to each beloved, accept your innocence and accept the innocence of all creation. No one has done anything. No one can do anything to change the truth of love. And every beloved is that love. Forgiveness is the key. Forgiveness holds the power of transformation, the power of the miracle, the power of remembering. That you can rest, that you can rest in this moment and accept Nothing that you thought you knew this morning, this afternoon, this evening, all of it surrendered. Private thoughts, not of God, having no meaning and having no power except the power that you give to it through fear, but truly being just illusion, having no worth to create anything of truth. Returning to love through the forgiveness that you choose. Choosing to forgive is not losing, but it's not winning either. It's returning. It's returning to light. It's returning to love. The willingness to wash away all the made up stories, meanings, purposes, and just returning to here now in love. The simplicity of healing is beyond comprehension. The ego would like you to believe that it is extremely difficult, extremely complicated. But healing is not complicated at all, nor difficult. The resistance to healing can make it feel difficult, but the resistance is just a foolish resistance. In this moment, accepting that here in the infinite circle of love, we are one. Just the word infinite is enough to heal your mind and heart. Infinite. What you have always been and will always be. Infinite and perfect love. There is nothing in the world that was made out of fear, made in the belief of death, that has any relationship to the infinite. It's all about temporary. It's all about time. It's all about caution. There's nothing infinite in the world of time. And yet infinite is what you are. No beginning, no end. Again, the mind that made up separation is locked with a vice of importance to time, believing that temporary and time are real, purposeful. They're only purposeful as time is surrendered to be used by God. When you disown the personal relationship with time, surrender it to God, to the spirit of love, to be used only for remembering, only to serve love, only for forgiveness. But the infinite is calling you beyond time, because that's where you can rest. There's no resting in time. The resting is in letting go of the mind and opening the heart. Resting in the infinite love that you are, one with God, one in perfection. Affirming in this moment that here in the infinite circle of love, we are one. The sanctuary is filled with love, because love is all that exists. The sanctuary is filled with the grace of forgiveness, because forgiveness is love. This universe is all love. Nothing else exists. There is only one presence here. It is the life force of God. And within this life force, we live and move and breathe as one. Opening, miraculously opening by choice, and recognizing you are the one who has the choice. No one can choose for you, and no one can force you in any way to choose love. But you have this divine free will to rejoin the will of God and to accept. I choose love. I choose peace. I choose harmony. I choose to remember, and I choose to forgive. I forgive all of the mistaken identities that I have given to everyone that I've ever known. I choose to forgive all of the identities that I've given to all cultures, all races, and all the ways that I've seen the behavior in this world be judged by my mind. I now forgive and recognize everyone that has incarnated is the light of God. Everyone is the Christ energy of truth. Everyone is the infinite truth of love. So in this acceptance and choosing to forgive, to erase all concepts of separation from the mind and the heart, and to return home to love. As you come into this moment and accept these prayers that come in the form of hymns. These prayers were delivered by divine beings through beloveds who were embodied for learning, for healing, and to help shift the vibration of love back into awareness, out of the morass of the belief of a separate self and separate thoughts. Oh, teach me to open my heart to those who come here to be healed. Teach me to open my heart to this love, to heal all this pain of this world. We have strayed from the love of our Father and wandered in pain since our birth. It was Jesus who came here to save us all, to release all this pain here on earth. Oh, my mother, the queen of the sea, it's your love that I feel inside me. Oh, teach me to love from the depth of my heart, to heal all the pain that I see. My Father is here with his love. He knows how to care for us all. He loves everyone who has answered this call, all those who have answered this call. Teach me to open my heart. In every moment of every day, with every situation, with every encounter becomes either a holy encounter or an encounter of fear and defense. These are the choices that every beloved has. And there is no reprimand for either choice that you make, except the cause and effect of that choice. The cause and effect of the choice is that you either are then aware of the spirit of love that is leading you, or you are back in your mind of the familiar of what you think you know, and that is your place of suffering. Being in your own mind with your own thoughts of the past. It isn't God's will for you to suffer. God is constantly calling all beloveds to return to the light, to let go of all of the private thoughts and return to love. Teach me to open my heart to all those who have come here to be healed. Every beloved that you encounter in your everyday life is here to learn how to heal. Are you there to serve that healing, or are you there to hinder that healing? That is the choice that you make with every choice. The choice that you make is not very profound in its awareness. It's a quiet place. It's a quiet place that your heart, your peace, gives you the awareness of what you're choosing. And when you choose pain and suffering with judgment, with private thoughts, with familiar, with time, when you choose that, there is no condemnation except from your own mind. But the pain is there because you've chosen to turn away from love. This becomes the choice of omission. that you choose out of habit, and that you don't want to remember to ask for guidance, or you don't want to remember to choose love and peace and open your heart. But by choosing the familiar of the past, you are choosing the choice of omission. God is going to keep calling you. The Spirit of love will keep calling you. But why waste any more time? Why waste time with the familiar of pain and suffering when you could be choosing peace and harmony and love? We have strayed from the love of our Father and wandered in pain since our birth. This is not, again, an admission of wrongdoing. This is the realization that this pain is not God's will for you. It is not the reality of truth. It is not the reality of oneness. Pain is not a choice of love. In this prayer, there is a call of the heart of what you truly want. Elevate my awareness to God in the highest. Help me to remember the brilliance of creation. The brilliance of creation is a light that shines here, and it shines within my heart as I open my heart, and it invigorates my awareness of truth and peace and power. I'm here to sing the praise of all divine light and creation. I'm here to sing and praise all divine beings that have come to serve my remembering and help me to be guided in the truth of love. I am singing here with great praise for all divine beings who come here to guide me, and I accept their guidance. Allow this prayer to permeate into your heart, to accept the vibration of love and step out of the thinking mind, of the minutia, of details, conclusions, ideas, all from the past. Now surrender. Elevei o pensamento a Deus lá nas alturas para reconhecer o brilho da formosura, o brilho da formosura. Hay uma luz de alento que limpa meu coração e vigora meu pensamento. Aqui eu vou contando que a minha vida essa viva Rei Juramidão e a rainha da floresta. All divine beings, in deep gratitude for the guidance, let me not ignore the guides that are walking beside me as I am involved and encapsulated in private thoughts of my own entertainment, instead of opening to the divine communion with the guides who surround me. Let me listen and be guided by the Spirit of love to learn the way of love, and to be the student of love. As I leave this world of separation and enter into the world of divine union with all creation. As the heart says yes, love enters. The violin. When the violin can forgive the past, it starts singing. When the violin can stop worrying about the future, you will become such a drunk, laughing nuisance that God will then lean down and start combing you into his hair. When the violin can forgive every idea, every perceived wound that's been caused by others in the mind of separation, the heart starts singing. The idea of the violin forgiving and singing, the mind can't wrap itself around. That's why it needs to be a shock. It needs to be a shock to the system of complacency, and it needs to be a shock to the arrogance of the ego that thinks it really knows things. This universe, the universe of love, is so brilliant. It is so unbelievably perfect and so beyond this minutia of a world that's been made by the mind of separation that it can't be conceptualized. So when the poets of love invite you into the world that goes beyond the concepts of limitation, it's for a very loving purpose, to recognize that the violin can forgive the past. Even the violin can forgive the past because it's so simple, and it must forgive the past to return itself. The being that is the violin can return itself to the wholeness of love. When the violin can stop worrying about the future, how many hours have you spent worrying about the future? This is where you can't lie, because everybody has done this with most of every day. To worry about the future is to be a prisoner of the mind so that you can't even be present with the blessings that are here. That is the ego's intention. And it's quite a game. It's one of the great addictions to worry about the future because it feels so purposeful. It actually feels like you're accomplishing something, and that it's something that you need to do. That if you're not worried about the future, you are slacking. You are not doing your job. It's your job to worry about the future in every little tiny way. You can be sitting and having a lovely cup of tea or cup of coffee with someone. You can be having, you have the opportunity, you're in this moment of sharing communion with this other beloved, having a lovely moment, and your mind is worrying about the future. You're not there. You're not drinking that coffee. You're not drinking that tea. You're not connected in a heart space with the beloved that you're having this moment with. Your mind is worrying about the future, believing that worrying about the future will actually produce results, because the arrogance of the ego actually has convinced that this is purposeful. And it covers everything. It covers every possible scenario of existence. It isn't just about financial, even though that's many times at the center. It has to do with every aspect of your life, to worry about the future. And if there isn't something to worry about, your mind will go off and find it. Because if it isn't something personal to worry about, then you can worry about the world. You can worry about the environment. You can worry about how things are going to be in 20 years. You can worry about the next generation. You can worry about the generation that's getting old. You can worry about an endless variety of items to worry about. What happens when you're in that worry? Worry, even in the little area of concern, because concern is a word that the ego likes to use to say, I'm not really worried, I'm just concerned. I've gone to a lower level of difficulty in order to justify my right to worry. There's always so many others to worry about, to be concerned about. But the key really is that in that concern, in that worry, in the justification of it, there's no offering of love. There's no offering of love into your own heart of remembering, and there is no offering of love to anyone else. It's self-absorbed and self-motivated. Self being the little self of protection and defense. Worry and forgiveness are very, very connected, because when you worry, which everybody is so familiar with, you have no relationship to forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't even make any sense, because worry is front and center. And worry keeps you completely unconnected to the source of love. There is no worry in God. There is no worry in truth. Worry is fear, the manifestation of fear. It's how you know that fear is alive and well, through worry. If you were having a debate about worry, everyone would have basically the same debate. Everyone would debate as the pro to worry that it's legitimate. Look at the facts. Look at disease. Look at death. Look at financial ruin. Look at starvation. Look at it all. Look at what some do to others. Look at the misery. Look at death. Look at the past. It proves that worry has legitimacy. And there is a joining in worry that is very essential to its nourishment, because worry has to keep being nourished, not with true nourishment of love, but with the nourishment of the lies of separation, that you are alone and you will die alone because you are unloved. Everything of worry is seeing the world through the principle of scarcity, that the world is actually built on the belief of scarcity. There is not enough. Enough does not exist. Some have more, so if some have more, then others must have less because there is not enough. The belief of greed is paramount to the belief of scarcity. The fear of not having enough says, I will get mine before somebody else gets it. And hatred and suspicion build in that belief of worry and lack. But it all comes from one source, the belief that you are separate from God. When the violin can forgive the past, it starts singing. While you hold on to the past and your identity, you will believe in scarcity and you will believe that worry is legitimate. They are completely linked. Your past, what you consider to be your past, what you consider to be real about who you are, what formed you, what made you become what you believe you are now. Your age, your culture, your family, your circumstances, all of it seen through the lens of separation, all of it coming into form through the belief of incarnation, in the belief already of being separate from love. But if the violin can forgive the past, how is it possible that you can't? You can, and you must. Not you must because if you don't, you're bad, but you must because that's where peace comes from when the past disappears. Peace is waiting underneath to be recognized because peace is what you are. You are love. You are peace. You are harmony. You are joy. That is the natural state of this universe, of the universe that encompasses thousands of worlds. You are peace. You are light. You are love. You are joy. You are harmony. But when you choose condemnation. When you don't choose forgiveness, you choose pain and suffering. That's why the call to forgiveness is so essential. You will become such a drunken, laughing nuisance that God will then lean down and start combing you into his hair. A laughing, drunken nuisance. It isn't about being drunk, it's about being intoxicated with love. Because to be intoxicated is to be without control. There is no control in love. There's nothing to control in love. And yet that love is completely peaceful. It isn't about grabbing other things and saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. It's about the heart singing and bursting with joy. The bliss of love that has to be shared because it's beyond being contained. How can this be embraced? Through forgiveness. Forgiveness of the past, the forgiveness of who you thought you were, the forgiveness of every beloved that you've walked with on this earth, that you gave an identity to, that you still hold as righteous. That when you think of those beloveds, you still see them as their identity. You still, in a nanosecond, can think of them and their whole identity, their whole story of everything, every exchange, every interchange, of every situation, everything that you have ever spent time with them with comes to you in that second. It's still intact. You see them as you remember them, as you identify them. Their behaviors, their habits, their ways, their movements, all of it is right there in your mind of remembering. You don't see them as the light of God. You don't see them as you would see the Christ energy. You see them as an identity from the past. How much energy is there in that past with each beloved? Because when you can bring them into your mind and hold them as you remember them being, that's energy that you use. That's being used all the time. They don't just go away into a hole in the floor. They stay in your memory field. They take up space as the false identities that you have given to them. Let's say it's someone that you never met, but let's say you had a grandfather who disappeared, or a brother who disappeared, or a sister who disappeared, or somebody who disappeared. You built an entire identity of them, even though you never met them. You didn't need to meet them. You built an entire identity of them. And when you built that identity of them, all your energy goes to that identity, to hold it in place as you know it to be. And it's an unconscious place of non-forgiveness that you choose not to see them as the light of God. So this calling to forgive, it's an offering of love to humanity. So many times beloveds will say, I don't feel like I can really do that much to serve humanity. There's so many beloveds who serve humanity. I don't have that ability to serve humanity. You have the greatest gift that you could possibly give to humanity. You, in the power of your forgiveness, can heal all of the beliefs of separation. Thousands will heal with you when you forgive. That is the power that you carry in that choice. Now, what also happens is that there is a resistance to that forgiveness because, as everybody is familiar with, non-forgiveness to the ego is delicious. It's delicious. It's like a birthday cake every day. Just absolutely delicious to be unforgiving and to bring out the faults of others and what they have done to you and what they have done to your identity, and you bring that out whenever you need that delicious unforgiveness of righteousness to prove that you're right and that you don't want to heal, that you don't want to be free. This is not conscious, or very seldom it's conscious. Every once in a while it comes into consciousness where you want to recognize and think about how unfairly treated you were in the past by whoever, even if you never met them. But this is a choice of upside downness that brings you absolutely nothing but pain. It's not delicious. It's as delicious as heroin. It's as delicious as being addicted to a drug for lifetime after lifetime. If you ask a heroin addict who's their friend, they will say the heroin for sure. And every beloved who believes, and this is everybody in humanity, believes that they have been unfairly treated. And in that belief, which is not the truth of God, it is the made up identity of separation. It comes from the mind, and everybody shares it as an identity that proves that separation is real. And it comes from the insidiousness of the fear of God, that you left God and you need to be punished, and this is part of your punishment, to be unfairly treated, and you're not going to let it go. And yet, the divine in all the sacred teachings keeps calling to each beloved, saying, this forgiveness is so essential. To realize that you've made a mistake, that you never could change the truth of your divine self. that this dream, this illusion of walking as a separate identity is not the truth. That you have not been harmed, that you have not been changed from the divine light that you are. That no one, nothing of this relationship within time has changed the truth of love. To open to this bliss, to open to the light, to open and find your divine, exquisite self, one with all creation, is to forgive the identity that you made that includes all these other beloveds, because none of it was the truth. Is this radical? Of course it's radical. Yes, it's absolutely top of the line radical. Absolutely. But I can promise you that in accepting, when you accept that you are the light of God, and who doesn't want to accept that they are the light of God? You can't accept that you are the light of God and accept that you are damaged. The light of God does not alter itself. The damage that you believe in is what is being called to forgiveness. Is there an attachment to a self-identity and an insidious devotion to your own thoughts? Yes, it's an addiction in itself. What would I do without these thoughts? What would I do all day long without my companionship of my thoughts? Mulling over everything and thinking about everything. And is it insidious? Yes, it is. And every beloved who comes to the spiritual journey of love, one of the first places that they go is meditation. Why do they go to meditation? To still the mind of this insidious junk that keeps blah, blah, blahing around, repeating the past again and again, everything that you know, repeating, 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 thinking, 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 instead of that quiet stillness where the heart can come forward and you can be connected in love, and you can see with love every beloved's innocence, and you can offer love because you're learning to offer love through the light of all masters, because you're willing to forgive all of the made-up identities and all the made-up stories and all the made-up rules. It isn't just forgiving other beings. It's about all the rules that you've made that you believe are legitimate, instead of being one with the laws of God, which are the laws of love, which are the laws of forgiveness, the laws of harmony and peace and joy, and being present in the moment and realizing there is no worry in God. What are you concerned about? Write it down. Write it down and then laugh at it. Because there is no death. And every worry that you will discover will be about death at its end result. Forgiveness. When the violin can forgive, the perception of every wound that has been caused by others, the perceived wounds. What are your perceived wounds that you so want to hold on to. The belief that somebody wounded you. Why do we want to hold so deeply on to the belief that somebody wounded us? There's the secret. It's because you believe that you wounded somebody else, and you want to hold the ones who you think wounded you in order to offset the ones that you believe you wounded. Because every single judgment, every single assessment is an expression of hatred. No one is immune from it in the world of separation. But that's where the forgiveness is that all of this has been mistakes. They've been a mistaken identity all the way around. But they both have to be forgiven. You are innocent, and everyone else is innocent. There is only one light. There is only one divine union, one heart. To forgive, when the violin can forgive every perceived wound caused by others, the heart starts singing. That's where your healing is. I am not asking any beloved to forgive what I have not forgiven. I had to go through the squeeze that felt like I was being put into a giant concrete machine, being squeezed out the other side, coming out like hamburger, out the other side of forgiveness. To forgive the beloveds who I vowed to hold in complete hatred and condemnation forever. And the glory, the bliss, the freedom of that forgiveness. And of the realization that those beloveds were my heart. That those beloveds were the innocence of God, and they were my heart. And that every beloved that you hold in non-forgiveness keeps your heart unavailable to you and keeps the worry intact, because you believe that your world is real. You believe that the world that you made and that you lived is real. And the attachment to that world is like an attachment to heroin. In the end, it has done nothing for you. In the end, it just kept you from joy and peace and celebration in this moment. It serves nothing other than to hold the past in place. The violin must forgive every wound that it has perceived to be done by others. And it must forgive every wound that you perceived you did to others. Through every thought, through every omission of grace and generosity of the heart. Every time that you have wanted to protect anything as an ownership, that must be forgiven. Every time that you had an idea of arrogance, of wanting anyone to prove your value, must be forgiven. Because all of those are acts of hatred. All of them are, when you want somebody else to admire you, and everybody has carried that. It's a universal belief in separation. When you want somebody else to admire you, it's hatred that you want from them. You want them to give you something and to admire you more than they admire somebody else. It's a competition. It's greed. It's a game. The only reason that these elements are important to bring to the light is because they run the show. They run the show behind the unconscious game of private thoughts and a private world. And forgiveness must be brought and used in the light, because you're forgiving everything that has meant actually nothing, except that you made something out of it that you thought was real. The forgiveness says, I made this up. I was mistaken, but I made up this battle with this beloved. I made up this identity of separation. This is my heart. We are one heart. Is it a stranger? Is it someone familiar? It doesn't make any difference. All is one in equality. Every beloved is there to learn to love completely as the light of God. Every beloved. There are no strangers. The stranger identity is the belief that you don't know them as the light of God, or that you need to know them in order to get their credentials to see if they're worthy of your time, attention, anything. It's all made up. Or what can they give you? You only like them if they're giving you something? These are games that the ego plays constantly. And it's time for forgiveness. It is the time for true forgiveness. Peace is the life force and the breath of all the stars and the rivers and the stones that are the truth of God. Peace. Are you offering peace and forgiveness to each beloved? Saying, I thought I knew who you were. I didn't know who you were. You're the light of God. Let me only see the light of God and remove every identity, to put all the roles that you have made dependent on each beloved having a role. Put them into the bonfire of love. Let them burn up, because they mean absolutely nothing. They are the light of God in union and in oneness with all creation. This is where the forgiveness is. God's peace and joy are mine. Are they? Are you living the peace and joy that is yours as the light of God? You can't be living peace and joy when you are in your mind of private thoughts. It's not possible. They're in complete contradiction to each other, because your private thoughts are your own little world. And there's no peace and joy there, because peace and joy is the creation of God. Today, I will accept God's peace and joy in glad exchange for all the substitutes that I have made for happiness and peace. All the substitutes that I've made for happiness and peace. Forgiving myself for the substitutes that I made, I can begin again. There's no condemnation from God. There is no judgment from God saying, oh, look what you're doing. You're not you're not doing the right thing. No, the only pain is that everything that you make up as a substitute for love is your pain and suffering. You make your own pain and suffering and then complain that life is hard. Love isn't hard. Resistance to love is hard work. It takes a lot of energy to have the memory of everybody that you think you know and what they mean and giving them all their identities. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to hold the line of what you think you know and to protect an identity. That's a lot of work. Forgive the past. Teach me to open my heart, dear God, and let me learn to forgive. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. Truth is forgiveness, and it will correct all errors. Only love is real. I was mistaken, and I am mistaken when I think I can be hurt in any way. So if you can't be hurt in any way, what is there to worry about? You have to be making up a really good doozy because you believe you can be hurt. I am mistaken. That is my forgiveness. When I think I can be hurt in any way, I am God's child whose self rests safely in the heart and mind of God. God is my source. God is my purpose. God is my strength. God is my light. God is the way. God is the life. God is the love. I am one with God. Let that fill your mind and hold your heart as you forgive what you think you know. Let your heart sing. God is my life. God is my truth. God is the forgiveness. God is my joy. Forgiveness every moment.